Welcome, Hoosier Nation, to our 101st episode of the Hoosier Sound, where we are the official podcast of Indiana HQ. Our mission and goal is simple. We want to bring in depth analysis and coverage for Indiana University sports to as many fans as possible across a multitude of modern platforms. We are recording this edition of the Hoosier Sound on Tuesday evening, August 13th, 2019, where I am your host, Noah Freeman. On the docket for tonight, Nathan is here with me as we have an incredibly special guest. Indiana basketball's most recent commit, Anthony Leal, is here with us. We are not only excited for you to be on this podcast, Anthony, but now a part of Hoosier Nation. First off, welcome and congratulations on finishing your recruiting and becoming a part of Hoosier Nation. How are you doing this evening, a few days after officially announcing everything?
I'm doing really well. Thank you both for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Has everything sort of settled down, even though it's been a few days after? Are still things kind of on that honeymoon phase?
Yeah, it's slowly been dying down a little bit, but I definitely still hear the congratulations and all that kind of stuff, like at school or just around town and that kind of thing. But it's slowly becoming less and less.
Gotcha, which is well deserved, obviously. But I know you've been on a few podcasts already, such as like Jim Coyle, Hoosier Hysterics, John Blau. How does it feel to have all of these media people around to want to talk with you? Is this something you were more or less expecting once you committed?
Honestly, no, I didn't know that it would end up getting this much I guess social media attention, but I think that it's a really cool experience that I'm able to do this kind of thing.
Let's rewind back to a few years ago, Anthony. When did you realize that you were good enough to play college basketball at a high level?
Yeah. Probably I definitely say just during high school, probably between sophomore and junior year, nothing not too early or anything, but I think that as AAU really started to pick up in high school and I started hearing from more colleges, it became more of a realization that this could actually be something that I could do in the future.
Was basketball something that you started when you were like 2 years old, or when did you actually get started into basketball itself?
Yeah, I'd say in that range, probably 2, 3, or 4. Really young though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And as a Bloomington native, Anthony, that's something that everyone constantly refers to ever since you committed, especially. Who were some of your favorite IU players? I know there's been some discussion that you have some contact with Jordy Hulls. Are there any other of your favorites out there?
Um, I'd say my top two are Jordan Holes and Johnny Jager. Both went to South like me, so they got some bit of an advantage there. But just guys like that and Victor and Cody Zeller, guys like that really, played as hard as they could and had some pretty nice success as a Hoosier.
Is there a specific IU moment that came maybe with Jordy or Victor, but is there a specific IU moment that stands out to you since you were, of course, growing up in Bloomington, like a Hoosier hysteria or a specific season? Was there one specific point that just stands out to you right as you commit of your Hoosier past?
It's kind of generic at this point, but probably I'd say Christian Wofford's shot to beat Kentucky. I think that was kind of the epitome of being a Hoosier and having so much pride and just being from the state of Indiana and specifically from Bloomington.
Anthony, were you at Assembly Hall that afternoon?
I wasn't. I was originally planning to, but I was up in Indy at a basketball tournament for myself, so I wasn't able to be there.
All right, so I mean that was an unbelievable moment. But now switching back to your basketball past, what was it like playing for Indiana Elite in general? What's your opinion of the AAU scene?
I think things have changed a lot, at least this past summer, from what they were before with like NCAA camps and all that kind of stuff. But I think that overall, I think it's a really great opportunity for kids that have the skill and have been given the ability to travel around and play in front of all these people and in front of these coaches to hopefully earn a scholarship. But I think that Indiana Elite specifically does a really great job of getting kids exposure and helping everybody hopefully get to the next level and have success there.
as you continue your AAU career, obviously, then it gets to into high school, and you get to do both more or less. Last year, your high school season, it's going to be a little bit of somber note, sorry, but your high school season ended with a tough loss to Center Grove. What
Yeah.
do you remember about that game, and just more specifically, incoming freshman Trace Jackson Davis from that game? Since obviously in a year you'll probably, hopefully, at least going to be able to play with him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun atmosphere and a really exciting game to be able to play for a regional championship. And I mean, we had a game plan going into it, and at the end of the day, we kind of had some trouble dealing with a guy that size when I was, pretty much the tallest guy on our team, trying to guard someone who's a high major big who's really skilled and that kind of thing. So I think it was a really fun game. It wasn't the way that we wanted it to end, but I think overall it was really fun being able to play against him and test ourselves as a team.
What was he like on the court during that game? I know it's just a little glimpse. Have you been able to interact with him at all, or was that kind of the only point that you've been able to see Trace, at least on a basketball court?
Yeah, we've played some pickup games. He wasn't like arrogant or cocky during the game or anything. He was a nice guy. He actually stepped on my ankle and made me roll it, but he showed really a lot of concern with that, and he took a second to see if I was okay. So when we were out there, he was a really down to earth guy who was just out there having fun. So I think that's really fun. Overall, I mean that wasn't the only time I've played with him, but I think that in total I've played with him a few times, and it's been fun every time.
Yeah, of course. And of everyone knows, and I think you've been even aware of just Trace's love for Twitter and how he loves to recruit people publicly on Twitter. Has he been in constant contact more or less with you after you were offered with Indiana, or how is he? How has your relationship with him kind of grown over the years?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot closer, especially just this past summer, but like since he committed and whatnot. But we've gotten closer, and we've been in contact, whether it's texting or Snapchat or Instagram, and obviously he's really vocal about his Twitter presence. But I think overall we've had really great contact, and our relationship's grown for sure.
Is Trace Jackson Davis the toughest player you've gone up against, or is there somebody else?
I'm gonna have to give that one to Romeo. I think playing against Romeo a few years growing up in high school, I think that was probably the toughest player I've had to play against.
Did you have to guard him specifically?
A few times, yeah. I mean, our defensive plan was to try to double him, so I wasn't really, just out on the island trying to guard him. But a couple of times I was guarding him individually, yes.
Gotcha. That must have been interesting. But speaking of toughest players you have faced, what is so we had a few questions that have gone out on forums or Facebook or Twitter. So from the Hoosier Sports Nation forum, Five Fouls asked the toughest venue that you've played during your high school career.
Probably would have to be Seymour, where the regional and that kind of thing was. It was, especially when it's packed with fans that aren't necessarily from Bloomington or were rooting for South. So having to go against a lot of people, in a sold out place that's seating upwards of 9,000 people is definitely a really tough place to play.
I'd say this is a small world. I'm from the DC area. I went to IU, and my fiance went to Seymour. So I always heard from her, it's like, oh, my high school gym is like one of the biggest in the entire country. I'm like, oh, okay. But then when I went to see it, and I was like, wow, this gym is humongous. How does that compare, I guess, to a lot of other high school gyms in Indiana, let alone the nation?
It's crazy because even though it's that big, there's multiple gyms like that just in Indiana. I think that's something that's special just about the state as a whole, is just that so much goes into basketball, and it brings so many communities together to have stadiums that big. So I mean, it was really special to be able to play in a place like that was sold out with such high stakes on the line.
As we keep the high school theme going, you just talked to us before the show started that school just started for you about in the last week or so. What are your expectations for your senior season at Bloomington South?
I mean, I'm expecting we have a pretty veteran team, so I'm expecting us to be pretty tough and be really mentally locked in, just to go into every day trying to get better, whether it's practice or just workouts or lifting weights, and then hopefully, we take the season one game at a time and win as many games as we can. Hopefully, end up playing for a state title down in March.
Now that's kind of a team goal. Is the last couple of years, Indiana has been able to land Mr. Basketball with Romeo Langford and Trace Jackson Davis. Is being Indiana Mr. Basketball a goal you're actively working towards, and how meaningful would winning that award be?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely something I'm working towards, but I'm not working towards it individually. I think it's an award that has to be won with a team. So I think that as long as I'm doing what I can to help our team be as successful as we can be, then at the end of the day, if we end up playing deep into the state tournament, whether or not I'm averaging 30 or just 15, if we're having really great success, I think that it's going to be hard to make an argument against winning a state title and being a senior leader on that type of team. So hopefully, that Mr. Basketball will come, but I think that before that's able to happen, I need to do what I can at least to help my team win a state title.
Now, with that, is there any added pressure since Archie has of course gotten 2 straight Mr. Indiana basketballs, and Purdue holds the record in the state for 3 straight Mr. Indiana basketballs? Is there any added pressure for you to possibly tie that record and lead it to hopefully Archie getting that 4th straight the year after in 2021, or is it again just something like you talked about, more of it being a team thing, and then if it comes, great. If not, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly like what you said there at the end. I mean, it's nothing that's putting pressure on me because whether or not people think that I'm going to get it or think I'm not going to get it, it's not like it's something that I'm expected or obligated to do. So as long as our team's winning, I think that I'll have a pretty high chance of hopefully tying Purdue's streak, and then maybe the year after someone will be fortunate enough to break it.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your college recruiting. Now, Noah and I have never had the privilege of being recruited to play college basketball. So can you let us know what it's like? How much of it is putting your name out there versus other schools contacting you? Can you walk us through kind of the process you experienced?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of picked up pretty quickly going into my junior year, hearing from schools and all that kind of stuff. And I'd say I didn't necessarily put my name out there as much as I just trusted what my coaches at Bloomington South and Indiana Elite were doing, and they pretty much helped me get exposure. And from there, it kind of just took off with hearing things and getting more publicity and that kind of stuff, and just to keep working on improving myself. And eventually I knew hopefully good things would come. And then I mean, from there it was just about building as many and as good of relationships as I could until I figured out where I felt like I was meant to be and where I was going to fit the best. And ultimately that was at IU. So I'm really thankful that I'm able to stay home.
Who at Indiana, in terms of coaching staff, who primarily recruited you, and what was your relationship with them?
Coach Ostrom, one of the assistants, and then Coach Miller. I heard from both of them really frequently, and I have gotten at least really close with Coach Ostrom and Coach Miller, and I think that our relationship continues to grow. Mainly probably because we bond with things that aren't necessarily basketball, but we also are able to talk the game and learn from each other, which I think is really special.
That also must be nice, of course, having the privilege to be right there. So if you need to, you can go talk to them in person. But AZ Hoosier from Hoosier Sports Nation, the forum, they asked, did IU having multiple players from the state of Indiana you were familiar with play a big factor, or at least make it easier to commit to Indiana?
Yeah, it definitely had a little bit of a factor. While obviously I had to make the decision for myself, I think that like they said in the question, it definitely made it easier, and it's going to make it easier to adapt and become more comfortable with everything. Just knowing that there's a comfortable group of guys there that have the same goal as me, which is just representing Indiana the way it should be, and playing well with that jersey on our chests.
And of course, it's no secret that you and Trey are pretty good friends. I think it's at least to say the least. And everyone always asks, like, how how his commitment influenced your decision. But I know you guys have talked about, both of you have said that you wanted to make it your own decision. But how much did Trey's commitment itself influence your decision? I know it wasn't the biggest thing, but did it have at least an impact in what your thought process was?
Maybe not my thought process. It might have just helped, like I said, make me feel more comfortable in having knowing that I'd have someone that I'm really close with, not only on the court but off the court, just be there. And I knew he would be there, and he has the same interest as me, which is just winning at all costs. So I'd say it definitely helped things, but I'm not sure I'd say it would have a huge factor in my thought process or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Now, Anthony, I know a number of schools recruited you. Now, not naming the school, but was there kind of a weird recruiting pitch you heard, or a funny question you were asked, something outside the box, or was everything just kind of standard talking points?
It was mostly all standard, I'd say. I don't know that I ever heard anything that was out of the box or absurd, I'd say.
You didn't have anything like you hear with those NFL draft day coverage where you have like these just random questions. You didn't have some off the wall chart like what color do you think of when you see the court or something like that?
No, I really don't think I can. At least
That's good.
From my memory right now, I don't think I can recall anything like that.
That's good. That's good. Now, as your recruiting winds down, and I think, of course, I know Trey's talked about this a lot, and I know that's this is one of your goals to try and build the best team as possible going forward. Is there anyone in particular you might be recruiting now that you're a part of Hoosier Nation?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely Dawson Garcia and Matt Cross are two guys that me and Trey have both kind of talked about, getting in touch with and trying to get them on board with being a part of something really special at Indiana with what Coach Miller's building.
When I know everyone has different methods, but when you talk to these kind of guys and Trey texts you, is it more of like you guys text or talk on the phone or FaceTime, or how do you guys usually try and talk, and how do you go about trying to get someone at least to come to the school that you're now a part of?
I'd say probably FaceTime or text is what me and Trey have done and we'll probably end up doing. But I think we both understand that at the end of the day, nobody wants to be like pushed or told what to do, anything like that,
Sure.
or kind of feel
Sure.
like they're forced. So we just want to make sure that the dudes are comfortable and we make them feel comfortable so that they don't feel like we're just pushing them around or trying to boss them or influence their decisions. But we're definitely just going to try to always be in the back of their minds, making sure that they're thinking about Indiana, and at the end of the day, if that's what's right for them, then they'll hopefully come be a part of it.
Yeah, it's always good to feel some love. But moving over to IU life, Anthony, I know you're a year away still, but what are you looking forward to most about coming to IU? Even outside of basketball, is there something you're looking forward to in starting college life?
I'm just excited for the challenges that I'm going to face, and hopefully getting a little bit uncomfortable so I can see growth in myself as a person. But at the same time, it's in a place that I've grown up knowing, and I'm going to be really, really familiar with a bunch of people on campus and all that kind of stuff, and know my way around campus. But it'll pose challenges in and of itself, just being a college student athlete. So I'm kind of excited to take those on and see how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, especially since you're obviously right from there, how do you think the transition is going to be from home to college? Because, of course, it's distance-wise, it's not going to be very far, but how do you think that transition might go?
I'm expecting it to be decently easy. I think that the hardest part of the transition will just be not taking the easy route and just stopping by home every other night for home cooked dinner and all that kind of stuff. So I think that'll be the most challenging part, is just trying to be more independent and get away from mom and dad and try to start figuring out my own self.
Oh, that makes plenty of sense there. As far as basketball goes, who are you looking forward to meeting the most on the current roster of IU players?
I mean, I've already met everyone. I'm already familiar with most people, but I'd say probably Trace and Armand, just because those are the guys that I'll be with the longest in my time at IU, and not as much the older guys, because they'll obviously be graduating
Now
earlier
you
on in
Sure.
my high school career.
Yeah, you've talked about how you've pretty much met every player on the team right now. Has anyone offered up any sort of advice or tips about college basketball and the challenges there?
Not necessarily from players that are on the team right now, given that it's only really been a few days since I committed, so we haven't, got into those kind of talks yet. But Johnny Jager, who used to be on the team last year and is a graduate assistant now, has been family friends and longtime friends with me and my family. So I've been able to talk to him and approach him with questions and stuff since he went through it, and now he's taking the next step in it. So he's been there to help me a lot on the way.
We've heard through bits and pieces from people throughout the past few years that Johnny is a pretty funny guy. Is that rumor true?
Yes, he's a very funny guy, and his youngest brother is actually one of my best friends who I've grown up with and is in the same grade as me, and he's a point guard on
Okay.
my high school team right now. So I've gotten really close with them, and they're both really similar and really funny.
Gotcha. Now, continuing with some of the more IU specific questions, when you get onto the court next year, who are you looking forward most to playing with, and who do you think you might fit best with in terms of playing and play style?
I'm definitely excited to play with Rob. I think he's really great at making others around him better and making the right pass and getting other guys good shots. So I'm excited to hopefully get to play pretty well with him and get some wins.
What about maybe off the court? Who's someone you're looking forward to getting to know a little more?
Um, Probably Joey Brunk. I think
Okay.
he's a really kind of unique guy who's really lively and loves what he does. So I think that he'll be a great guy to become closer friends with.
Gotcha.
Now, Anthony, look, what's your best attribute on the court in your mind? And at the same time, what is something you're also working on to improve?
Yeah, I think obviously I need to improve everything, whether it's strength, athleticism, that kind of thing. But primarily just ball handling and being stronger with the ball is what I'd like to improve. And then I'd say my best attribute is probably just being the hardest working dude on the court at all times and making the hustle plays and doing the things that a lot of guys don't like to do. And I really kind of embrace that role of being a guy that does kind of the dirty work, if you'll say, and does the small things that might not show up on a stat sheet but end up being really huge for a team to be able to win.
Oh yeah, think you're going to fit in great, especially with Archie Miller's system. And I think when you say that, every Hoosier mind goes straight to Zach McRoberts, a guy that maybe got almost 0 points every game, but he just, man, he dove for the ball. And I think everyone's going to love you, especially for that kind of stuff and just showing Hoosier pride and what it really means to be a Hoosier. But going off the court a little bit, but still IU specific, have you, the FKIM01 on the forum asked, have you decided on a major yet? Or are you still working on that? Which obviously you have a year to go, but have you decided a major or a thought process on that yet?
I have not. Right now, I'm just working on getting as many credits as I can to have more options going into high school. But
Gotcha.
the pace I'm at right now has me where I'm gonna be about halfway through my freshman year as far as credit wise
Wow. Nice.
before I get on campus. So that'll give me a lot of opportunities. And obviously,
Hmm.
being at IU, you've got great things like the Kelly business. So I'll probably
Hmm.
check that out, kind of see what opportunities that could lead for. But I'm really not sure about a
Gotcha.
major yet.
Hmm.
I'm trying to get my third degree from the Kelly School right now. So there you go. So
That's awesome.
it seems like, and I'm sure you're fully aware of this, Anthony. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
IU fans are notorious for being very fanatical on social media or even in person. In all honesty, how much did the passionate fan base affect your decision, if at all?
Yeah, I think that was really an important thing for me, just to be a part and be around people that are like that. It's obviously it's great when you have that kind of support with you, but if it's if it's where you're going against that kind of thing, it can be tough. But I think that now that I have all that support and and passion kind of backing me, I guess it becomes contagious, and hopefully, can spread throughout not only the team but other communities, and raise some Hoosier pride, I guess.
Now, we talked about your high school career, the toughest player that you faced, the toughest venue. Let's go to your IU career, your future IU career, and what you're most looking forward to. Which arena, of course, besides Assembly Hall, are you looking forward to playing the most? And then, obviously, depending on graduations and leaving early, is there a specific player in maybe the Big Ten that you're looking forward to going up against?
Well, I definitely want to win a game up at Purdue. I think that just to
Yeah.
be able to do that in Mackey Arena is going to be something that's really cool, just to silence that crowd with a win. So I think that's something I'm really looking forward to. And I guess a Big Ten player I'm looking to play against. I'm gonna have to say he's not there yet. He's in my grade from Indiana, but DeAndre Davis, who's committed to Nebraska. I think that we've grown up really great friends, and he's always a great competitor. So I think that I'm really gonna have a lot of fun being able to compete against him during our college career.
Gotcha.
Nice. That's an interesting answer. I was not expecting that. So let's kind of talk about some statistical numbers here. Madison 22 from the forum is wondering, as far as free throw percentage goes, do you think you'll hit 90% of your free throws in college basketball? In other words, is that sort of a standard that you're trying to reach?
Definitely. I mean, I've obviously the ultimate goal would just be to not miss any, but realistically, I'd be aiming for about 90%, and I mean that would end up being a lot for a 4-year career. But I think that setting that kind of goal really high is something that's going to help me hopefully achieve that eventually.
Yeah, and on a similar note, are there any other kind of statistical goals that you go after, whether it's even high school or college basketball? Is there any stat that you kind of emphasize more than others?
I guess it's always good to try to be in the 50 40 90 club where you're 50 from the field, 40 from 3, 90 from the free throw line. So that kind of thing. But I mean, I guess not really a specific stat besides wins. I guess you could say that would be the most important if you're going to count that as a stat.
Gotcha. Now, earlier we were talking a little bit off air before. We were talking about how right now it's kind of a lot of workout time. Coach Brian Tonsoni in the chat asked while we were live, just take us through kind of a typical workout. I guess, does it first talk about a workout maybe in the off season, and then does it change during the regular season? How does it change? What kind of stuff goes into your workouts?
Yeah, it definitely changes. Going into the season, it's more of a shorter workout, just working on specific things, whether it's getting up 500 shots or just working on ball handling for a little bit before after practice. But I definitely have to change the workout routine going into the season just to try to maintain myself and still get through practices and that kind of stuff. But during the off season, it varies whether it's a shooting workout, a dribbling workout, that kind of thing. So start with some type of warm up, get some shots off the catch and shoot, shots off moving, shots off the dribble, that kind of thing. Just being able to not be one dimensional and working on stuff at game speed during my workouts is something that I really try to emphasize so that it's really game like.
Now, with those workouts, I know, like, when I was growing up, and, like, do you have a specific superstition, like you have to leave the court on a made shot, or you have to leave the court making 10 free throws in a row? Is there just something that you have to do every single day to go to bed happy and yeah?
Yeah, not as serious where it's down to that line, but I always like to end on a make. Obviously, go out on that kind of a good note, but nothing too crazy.
Assuming you're going to live on campus, Anthony, next year when you come to IU, assuming you're going to live on campus with the players, is there a person you're looking at as far as like a possible roommate? I know some IU fans might be thinking about Trey Galloway. Is there anyone else that you've got your eye on?
No, definitely Trey. I mean, we've grown really close, so I think that being roommates with him and keep building our friendship is something that we're really both looking forward to. So I think that I definitely hope to at least room with Trey in college.
Let's give you one last question before we get into some of the more fun questions. Now, everyone can read some of the scouting reports that Peegs and puts on there, or watch like highlights and stuff from you, and they can see shooting guard, and they see that you're an incredible shooter already, and some of the hustle that you do, and the motor that you have, and all that kind of stuff. Is there a specific attribute that you have on the court and maybe off the court too that you have that Hoosier fans might not know if they aren't able to watch your gameplay every single day?
I'd say maybe defense. I guess that's not really something that gets reported or written up about a lot. But I
Sure.
think I really, especially this past summer with my AU team, really took pride on trying to guard the best player we were playing against and hopefully keep them to pretty low numbers and just be a defensive leader out there, whether it's just talking or getting stops or being in help and that kind of thing. So I'd say probably defense.
With that defense is, of course, everyone's going to ask, like with Archie in the pack line defense, every recruit that commits Archie's going that fans are going to ask, oh, are they going to be able to run the pack line? Is that something you're familiar with, or is it something Archie's talked to you at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with it, but believe it or not, we actually did that in middle school with my middle school team. So we obviously, it's not what we're doing at high school and South,
Sure.
but I'm familiar with it and I've done it before. So it shouldn't be as hard to refresh myself and pick up on it again.
Gotcha.
That's pretty funny. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Look, Anthony, is there a certain player or players that you model your game after? I think that's something IU fans would be kind of curious to know.
Yeah. Honestly, not really. Like I try to kind of be my own player, but I'd say like if I would compare the way I play to maybe someone in the NBA, it'd probably be Klay Thompson. I think that he's a pretty good shooter who's also proven to be a really great defender. So I think that overall, I probably would relate my game to his the most.
I like that comparison. Let's get into some more fun questions. Pre-game rituals. Is there pre-game ritual that you do, something that you have to do before games?
I mean I have the same meal. I have mac and cheese and meatballs before every game.
Ooh.
It's from Noodles and Company. So that's probably my only pregame ritual, I'd say.
Huh. Is that not too heavy on the stomach when you start playing?
No, not people always ask that, but like I guess it's unique, but I love eating a lot right before I work out. I'm not, maybe my metabolism's super high or something, but I never feel sick if I'm eating right before I work out or play. It's just something that kind of helps me keep energized.
And going along with some of the rituals, are there any superstitions you have? Just it doesn't have to be basketball, but just in general. Are you a superstitious guy?
Not really. No. I mean, I pray a lot, so I think that kind of helps me a little bit, but I don't think I'm a very superstitious guy.
Yeah, I don't count that much as superstition.
See, like if I do well on a test, I have to use the same pencil the next test, So maybe that's just me. I don't know. Let's go into some nicknames, Anthony. Now I know there's some conversation about this, but first of all, just based on your high school team with Bloomington South, have you heard any nicknames that have been given to you as a player?
The only one's not very fun, but it's just Tony. It's kind of just short for Anthony for while we're playing and stuff like that. So a lot of my close friends and teammates will call me Tony a lot.
So for some of the listeners that might not have seen this context, you of course along with the 20 podcast you've already been on, the Hoosier Hysterics podcast that you've been on, they really wanted to give you a nickname. I think they gave you a few options. They kind of pick your brain a little, see what you like. Now we're gonna give you 4 or 5 options. Tell us if you like any of them, all of them, none of them. Don't be afraid to hurt our feelings. See if any of these you would like to hear when you are potentially playing basketball. So we've got Leal's on Wheels, got the Leal ticket, the license to Leal, especially when you're shooting daggers at Mackey Arena. You got the automobile Leal. I like that one, especially with you driving Trey around next year a lot. And then the electric Leal.
I mean, I love them all. I'll take them all, but I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see what ends up sticking, I guess.
Okay, got it.
All right, Anthony. Now, this is what I've been looking forward to the entire evening. All right. So, we're going to have a little rapid fire round. All right. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I want you to do is say the first thing that comes to your mind for each of the following items. You've got about 10 or 12 questions here, but this is going to be going pretty quick. All right. You ready?
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. First up, who's your favorite NBA player?
Klay Thompson.
All right. How about being Bloomington native? Best Bloomington restaurant?
Yonkos.
Ooh, I feel like we should have some sort of sound effect in the background for this,
Yeah.
but whatever. We'll
Yeah.
keep it going. What about your favorite TV show?
Shoot. I don't know. That's tough. I'm just gonna say like Sports Center. I don't know.
I love it.
I don't really watch TV that much.
Fair enough. What is on Anthony Leal's pregame playlist?
A lot of country.
Very nice. All right. Anyone specifically or just in general?
Just in general. It's a pretty long playlist. I just hit shuffle. It's just a bunch of country songs.
If I recall, I think Cody Zeller had that when he was playing here, and he probably still has that. So there you go. You got something in common with him. Best movie you ever watched?
Ever watched? I like the movie Interstellar a lot.
Ooh,
But
nice.
actually, no, that was an incorrect answer. I'm gonna have to say Hoosiers.
Oh,
Look
okay.
at that. Pull a fast one there.
There you go.
Yeah.
On that note, which actor would you pick to play you in a movie?
Will Ferrell.
Oh, nice.
He's a funny guy. Yeah.
I'd watch that. If you didn't play basketball, what would you do?
I'd try to learn how to play the guitar.
Ooh, how about that? Interesting.
Yeah.
Where in the world would you like to visit?
I really, really want to go to Montana and kind of go hiking in the mountains and kind of see.
Do you want to go to
kind of areas?
Do you want to go to Glacier specifically?
Yes, Glacier, Yellowstone, all those kind of places. I really want to go out there. Yeah.
Ironically, I got back from a trip from Glacier about a month ago, and it was incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
awesome.
like that answer. I like that answer.
I love it. So when Anthony Leal picks up the cell phone, is he more of a texter or a talker?
Talker for sure.
Ooh. All right. What's Anthony Leal's favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Cinnamon rolls for all three.
Oh, wow. Maybe that'll be your nickname when it's all said and done. Like when you're going down the lane, instead of the finger roll, it's just a cinnamon roll is going in for
There you
two.
go.
That's exactly
go.
right.
There you go. All right. So we know that former IU player Victor Oladipo, we now know that he could sing really well. What are your hidden talent or talents that nobody knows about?
Shoot. I guess I'm pretty good at making people laugh. So
Nice.
I would consider that a talent, but I'm a decently good biker and I'm becoming better at like kayaking and that kind of thing. So I guess if you would consider those.
Is it going to be your goal in life when you get to IU to make Archie laugh at least once during your however many years you're there?
Definitely. I think
Nice.
within the first day, if I'm not able to, I'm going to be disappointed in myself.
Okay. you have to let everyone know about that too. If you made Archie laugh today.
Oh man. All right, and the last rapid fire question tonight, Anthony. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
I think that my superpower would probably be just to be able to fly. I think that that'd be really fun to be able to go places like that and kind of see that kind of view of the world. So I think that that'd be really cool.
Love it. I want to quickly. So that was what we were going to end on, but we had a couple things in the chat come up. We had Brian Tonsoni, Coach Tonsoni, come up, then say Buffaloes or Mother Bears.
Oh man, that's tough.
That is tough.
I'm gonna have to go with Buffaloes on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just for the wings specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that their wings are awesome, but at the same time, you could still get wings from Mother Bears and still get that pizza. So
That's true.
That's going to be a close one.
That is true. I did want to linger a hot sec on the food, since you are, of course, from Bloomington. You coming in, you know food basically better than everyone compared to a lot of the incoming recruits. What are maybe your top five food places
In town?
Yes.
Yonkos, Malibu Grill, Mother Bears, Buffaloes, and I'm going to have to say Chipotle just because I love Chipotle.
Sure, yeah. Is there a specific food place, since you've grown up there, is there a specific food place that's maybe not as popular, that's not on everyone's radar that you like?
I mean, I would have said Yogi's, but that's closed now, so I can't say that anymore. I think that me and my family used to really love going there.
Gotcha. And we had a couple of nicknames come in. We got Born to Leal, and then the Coach Tonsoni said Thrill by Leal, which that might not be a nickname, but it might be once you hit a 3. Instead of saying 3, it'd just be Thrill by Leal. So, but Anthony, man, we thank you so much for taking your time. I know you just started school last week. You've been on a bunch of podcasts. You've been busy. You've had to talk to a bunch of people about your commitment. And I know I know not just us really appreciate it, but Hoosier Nation for getting to know you a little more as we can officially welcome you to the family. As we wrap up here, where can people find you on social media if they're not following you already?
Just on Twitter or Instagram, it's the same username, but Anthony Leal with the E's being a 3. So the E is a 3 there. And I mean, I've been trying, especially recently, to get back to everybody that's congratulated me or welcomed me to Hoosier Nation. So I just am really thankful for all the love I've gotten so far.
Yeah. And we of course, thank you again, Anthony. We wish you the best of luck, especially best of luck as your senior year, and we'll have to talk to you later.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thanks. That about wraps it up, Hoosier Nation, for our 101st show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you especially to that live audience for coming out and participating in that chat. We really appreciate your support. We'll be back next Monday for another edition of the Hoosier Sound Off. News and updates come through Twitter, and subscribe to our show so you don't miss our weekly shows, especially when we have it's such a great guest as Anthony was on here for multiple reasons. Most importantly, if you enjoy our show, leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook. Tell a friend, share our links. Your support is really how we grow this podcast so we can reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we'll see you next time.